Chapter 871, Director. What happened? The sudden change made the inexperienced Hazel momentarily lost as to how to react. She stood there in dazed silence for a few seconds before pushing open the door and rushing in. When she arrived beside the charred rat, the existence that claimed to be a demigod rolled in a fit, speaking with a calm tone, "You forgot to close the door." Ah, Hazel first wore a blank look before realizing that she had failed to close the door like she usually did because of her eagerness to access the situation. Doing so prevented the maids from peeping in. With the rat appearing fine, Hazel pursed her lips and turned around, walking back to the door. During this process, she didn't forget to glance at the full-body mirror. She saw that everything in it looked normal without any problems. It clearly reflected everything in the room. There weren't any additional people or objects. As the door clicked shut, Hazel asked, "Teacher, what happened just now?" The charred rat looked at her sidewards as it cast its gaze beyond the window. In the world of mysticism, anything that involves supernatural power is filled with danger. You can't be too careless. I had tried to use the mirror to do a divination, but I ended up garnering the attention of an unknown existence. After an intense struggle, I finally resolved the problem and prevented the danger from spreading across the street. The rat spoke fluently without any stammering or hesitation, as though being struck by lightning was something trivial. "Is that so? Why didn't you warn me of such matters in the past?" Hazel couldn't help but frown, as she could smell the mixed smell of charred fur and disintegrated fat. Without waiting for her reply, the rat turned to face the balcony and said to her with its back towards her, "My physical condition has deteriorated as a result. I'm no longer suited to staying here, or else I might be discovered by the Church of Evernight. Yes, find an opportunity to send me to your manor in the countryside." Looking at the rat's charred fur and smelling the fragrance of roasted meat, Hazel fell silent for a few seconds. Suppressing her doubt, she nodded and said, "All right." 160 Birkeland Street. Sitting in the reclining chair, Klein saw the full-body mirror ripple with aqueous light again as silver light arose. The silver words formed into a sentence. "Great Master, your puny servant, Arodes, has followed your instructions to warn that demigod from the marauder pathway. I have also given her a tiny punishment." Her. Just as Klein was ruminating over the pronoun Arodes had used, light from the mirror's surface turned clear as it presented a scene. A silver bolt of lightning smote down, causing the gray rat to collapse while convulsing. "This is way too weak." Klein suddenly understood why this demigod's condition was weaker than he expected. "Are you satisfied with the way I handled it?" The silver lines quickly warped into a question. "Not bad," Klein nodded. Considering the demigod's condition, he paused for a second and probingly asked, "Why didn't you directly kill her?" Arodes's mirror outlined silver words. "If one can't be certain in killing a demigod target, it's best not to force them into a corner. Once they aren't repressed, they will completely let themselves go. That would result in them mutating into an incomplete and irrational mythical creature. Most of the time, to have a problematic condition and to having trouble fully expressing their powers is because they are resisting their inclination of losing control. I am not here in my actual form, so all I can do is deal a small punishment." When the final line appeared, the full-body mirror's aqueous light shimmered. Klein suddenly had the feeling that a creature was looking at him with widened, watery eyes. He didn't respond towards that and instead nodded. "That's it for today. I'll summon you again if there's anything else." "All right, Master Tilda." The mirror immediately produced a hand-waving emoticon. After cleaning up the room, Klein finished his afternoon nap and left the master bedroom. Before long, the white-gloved Walter came to the third floor and entered the half-opened room with the balcony. He said to his employer, "Sir, the church has sent a letter. They've invited you to be a director in the board of directors for the Lone Charity Bursary Foundation. You can choose to directly take up a post there to receive a sizable salary, or you can choose to take on a symbolic role. You will only participate in the discussion and vote when handling major matters. The church sure is efficient. It has already set up the framework." Klein thought and felt that since he had already donated more than £10,000, there was no need for him to claim a salary. It was better to not expect anything in return as he deliberated. I'll take on a symbolic role. However, I wish to participate in some of the actual operations of the foundation in the future. I wish to contribute further to spread aid to help more people. I will inform the Church of your thoughts, Walter seriously replied. If you have nothing else, it's best you head over on Wednesday morning to witness the official establishment of the foundation. Dwayne raised his porcelain cup and drank a mouthful of black tea. Okay. On the Golden Dream, Danitz sat in front of the deck, worriedly looking at the azure blue sea that was churning with waves. After being urged once by Jam Sparrow, he felt that he couldn't delay any further. Otherwise, he might become a bounty at any time. I don't want to become a pile of cash while I'm sleeping, so what if I'm suspected? Danitz gritted his teeth and mustered his courage. He passed through the cabin door and headed straight for the captain's cabin. Being unable to find Anderson Hood in a short span of time, he could only ask Vice Admiral Iceberg Edwina Edwards. After reaching his destination, Danitz took 3 deep breaths and raised his right hand, prepared to knock on the door. At this moment, Vice Admiral Iceberg's voice sounded from inside. Please come in. Danitz's right hand paused in midair as he forced a smile and entered. He saw that his captain was sitting behind a desk, holding a dark red fountain pen. He had no idea what she was writing. Captain, I have something I'd like to consult you about. Danitz came over and bent his back slightly as he said with a smile. Edwina put down her fountain pen and pulled at her sleeves that were laced with flowers. She glanced at Danitz and said, You wish to ask about West Balham. Ah, Danitz's expression froze. The captain already knows. It must be those bastards and dogshit like Beryl and Iron Skin. They told Captain about it. I know that no secret can be kept on this ship, and it's even more so for Captain. After cursing inwardly, Danitz forced a smile again. Yes, as you know, I'm very interested in history and geography. Edwina's limpid eyes moved slightly as she looked out the window. This is international politics. Without waiting for the stiff Danitz to find another excuse, she continued on. In West Balham, there are cities managed by the Loanese, valleys belonging to Intis, native generals who are supported by loan, and tribes who follow Intis' orders. There are also powerful independent states who rely on the requirement that both nations are balanced. They are secretly connected to the different factions of the numinous episcopate and are in a rivalry with those who claim to be the descendants of death. In addition, the Rose School of Thought and Fasak Empire have a deep influence on West Balham. On the surface, none of the factions belong to them, but in fact, many of the generals and tribal chiefs have submitted to them. Among them, Danitz listened in surprise before he lowered his hand suddenly with a dry chuckle. Captain, I need to take notes. Or else there's no way to memorize this. Edwina, who had been interrupted, wasn't mad. She pointed at the fountain pen and paper on the table. That's a good habit. I believe Jam Sparrow doesn't wish to receive erroneous information. Ah, Danitz was stunned once again. West Balham Shore is chaotic. It's difficult to even tell which backing faction that a medium-sized warlord belongs to or who he's supported by. The Rose School of Thought has a very strong influence there. That means a sharp rise in risk for me. Klein had quickly scanned through Danitz's letter after receiving it from Miss Messenger Rionette Tynecare. It made him believe that he shouldn't head to West Balham alone unless Mr. Azek accompanied him.